Buenas a todos, chavales. Otro cámara torcida, otro viernes más, con el Star Citizen Live. Que en este caso se llama Constructores del Lore, las bandas de Pyro, las mafias de Pyro, Gangs of Pyro. Y nada, falta un minutillo y vamos a ello, a ver. A ver qué se cuece. Ya han hecho el test de audio y todo el rollo. Ha habido de Sync. Ha pasado el 17 al 14 de golpe. De Sync.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Star Citizen Live Gamedev Lore Builder, The Gangs of Pyro. It's just supersized title for a supersized episode with supersized guests. Joining us on the show this week are members of our esteemed narrative team, folks who create the story, the background, the je ne sais I don't know behind a Star Citizen. Dave, Will, and Adam. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Now, every show is somebody's first show. You know, the Star Citizen community is always growing and whatnot. So before we get into what we're doing today, let's take a few minutes and talk about.
Me está explicando ahí Discorando que cada show pues es el primer show para alguien, entonces vamos a explicar qué vamos a hacer hoy y todo eso, ¿no? Va a explicar ahí quién es cada uno y demás.
Okay.
We'll start with you, Adam.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi.
I'll get it going.
I'm gonna look down at you like the Brady Bunch.
Adam Weezer. I am a writer, so I support Dave and Will when it comes to any narrative content we need for the PU, Squadron 42, wide variety of topics. So, yeah, just help build out the lore in any way, shape, and form that's needed for the game.
You've been here almost as long as I have. You started like just like a month after I did.
I believe so. Yeah, like 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Will, who are you and what do you do for Star Citizen?
Hi, I'm Will, and I do for Star Citizen. So I am Will Weisbaum. I'm the lead writer here on the project for both the Greater PU and Squadron 42. For the PU, heavily involved with helping do world.
Bueno, Will se dedica es uno de los escritores líderes en cuanto al PU y al Escuadrón 42, a hacerle pues contexto de las misiones y demás.
Okay. And David, last but certainly not least, who are you? What do you do for Star Citizen?
I am Dave Haddock. I'm the narrative director here on both Squadron 42 and Star Citizen, Greater Universe. Kind of do a bit of everything. I've sort of been here a while, so you know we'll sort of oversee kind of the development of any kind of storylines, characters.
Bueno, pues es el director de narrativa, tanto el Escuadrón 42 como el Universo Persistente, lleva de aquí pues desde el comienzo de los tiempos casi. Y pues se dedica pues a hacer un montón de cosas, cualquier cosa que tenga una historia detrás o cómo se evoluciona pues la narrativa de un personaje, pues él está ahí, ¿no?
Get involved in many pies.
Yeah,
King of Pies.
it's one of the things, if I can extol the virtues of the narrative team here for a second. Obviously, the narrative team provides context for almost everything that we see in the Star Citizen universe, backstory and much needed texturing, so that you see why, so that you can, so for those who are willing to look deeper, they know why these things are there and how they're supposed to work with other things in the world. But one of the things that I really like about your team and the way that it functions within Star Citizen as a project as a whole is it's almost it's also a sanity check. Whenever we want to add something to the Precision Universe or add something to Squadron 42 or whatever, it's always, well, does it fit in with the lore? Does it fit in with the universe that we've established?
Está comentando, disparando que el trabajo que tienen, que es en plan, que es como un chequeo, ¿no? De salud del proyecto, de alguna manera, porque dice que cada vez que alguien tiene que añadir algo al proyecto de Star Citizen, pues tiene que ponerse pues en contacto de alguna manera con la gente del lore para saber, bueno, esto que queremos añadir encaja o cómo podemos hacer esto para que encaje en el lore del juego, ¿no?
Besides just the background and texture and all that good stuff, you guys really are essential to the game dev process.
Claro, está diciendo, disparando que realmente ellos son esenciales, vitales, ¿no? Para el desarrollo del juego.
Go for it.
Well, just real quick, I mean, it was one of those things. It's I mean, kind of unusual because of the nature of how we're building the game. This sort of open development is a very unique way to create a universe, because normally, we would just sort of be in hiding and be working on the thing, and designers and gameplay people would be working up concepts and stuff like that, and then we could work with them and stuff and figure out wrappings for all of it and stuff like that. But because the stuff we're introducing the lore as we're building the systems, we're sort of working in tandem with it, so it's a definitely a unique way to
Claro, dice, como dicen muchos desarrolladores, que trabajar en estas dicen que es una forma única de trabajar, pues al ser un desarrollo en vivo y de recibir feedback, pues que lo hace interesante.
When new ideas are introduced or new gameplay is developed, he wants to know how it fits into the universe, like you were saying, and that's really his passion. So full credit to him for enabling us to function this way as a team. And it's kind of interesting. Of a lot of times we talk about pipelines when we're talking about how Star Citizen comes into being. And narrative is kind of in a unique place that often we're at the beginning and end of pipelines, which is kind of unique to our team, in that we are there at the inception of ideas, and it's never like people are coming to us and we say like, no, that doesn't work. We're a team of like, how about this? Like there's an eye introduced, and then it's just about like sculpting it, shaping it so that it does become a bigger part of the universe. And then at the end, we're there again to put that final polish on it, the naming, the text, all those little details that really bring it to life. So it's a lot of fun.
I like the way you phrased that. We're a project of how about this. And of course, these aren't all the members of the narrative team. We've also not joining us on the show this week because this is just.
Está comentando de que es un proceso interesante por el hecho de que el lore tiene que participar desde el principio de la cadena de producción hasta el final para dar esos toques finales al texto y demás, y que es una experiencia curiosa, ¿no? Y que le gusta Discolando cómo describe su profesión. Y está diciendo también Discolando de que evidentemente pues estas no son las únicas personas que trabajan en el lore, sino que hay mucha gente también, pero que no están ahora mismo en cámara.
I don't know. Time is not a construct I can follow anymore.
No.
All right, so what are we doing today?
Well, we thought with the sort of one of the things that actually we've been sort of working on is developing some of the factions theoretically that you could come across in Pyro. So on a high level, so it's it's a lawless system. There is no organized government. So the idea is that there basically be a bunch of criminal groups that are out there just kind of scrabbling for power or territory and stuff like that. And so as we're building some of these, we thought it would be fun to loop in the community and kind of.
Están hablando un poco de que dice, bueno, el día de hoy van a tratar sobre Pyro, sobre que es un sistema sin ley, sobre que pues hay una disputa de poder sobre el control de territorio, no hay ningún tipo de gobierno y han pensado que hoy pues podrían pues enseñarnos cómo se desarrolla un poco la estructura de poner pues ese tipo de diferentes facciones que va a haber en Pyro, ¿no?
Okay, cool.
Cool. I mean, we're going to do this with considerably less screaming than normal.
Yeah, we talked about starting off with a little bit of an old glimpse at Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy, of just giving the lowdown on Pyro to catch people up who may not be as familiar with the system. Is my screen being shared, Jared?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So we got the Pyro system here in our fantastic Arc Star map. And so...
But you're not even going to do the Lore Maker's intro?
Hi, welcome to Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I froze for a second. I'm like, what was our intro?
Están bromeando ahora mismo con un programa que hacían antes que se llama Lore Makers y dice que Discolando si no vamos a hacer la broma de hacer que estás entrando al programa, ¿no? Y dices, hola, bienvenidos al Lore Maker y tal.
Kind of detected the anomaly of the jump point, but because he was working for a corporation and it got reported up, it was kind of ignored for a while until the company Pyrotechnic Amalgamated was kind of really seeking new territories, and they had remembered like this old scan and stuff, and finally spent the resources to go research it. And at the end of the day, discovered a new system, which would become to be known as Pyro, named after the company who first founded Pyrotechnic Amalgamated. And at the center of it is this main sequence star that has unpredictable solar flares, which made it extremely dangerous at the time when it was discovered in the middle 25th century or late 25th century, because ship technology at the time wasn't as robust as it is now, so it was even harder to travel there.
And one of the things that we sort of said was that it also kind of, with the Second Tavaran War, as we sort of ship technology advanced because of that, and also because of kind of pulling off the idea that like the Tavaran were really good at making shields, was that part of the kind of Tavaran tech that we assimilated, when we won, might have increased the technology of our ships, so we were able to weather this sort of...
Están comentando de que el sistema Pyro era un sistema pues, bastante olvidado de alguna manera hasta que la empresa Pyrotechnic Amalgamics o algo así creo que decía, pues tomó, digamos, control del sector para explotarlo. Entonces el sistema pues acabó llamándose Pyro después de eso, que es un sistema que es bastante peligroso porque tiene unas llamas solares bastante jodidas y que fue más o menos en torno al siglo XXV, y a partir del siglo XXV pues consiguieron también pues debido a las guerras Tebarin y demás historias, cuando derrotamos a los Tebarin, pues como que asimilamos esa tecnología de escudos en la humanidad, y esa tecnología de escudos también permitía el viajar por unas condiciones tan peligrosas como las que ofrecía el sistema Pyro.
So there was a lot of important, and Hadrian, so a lot of big systems ended up being connected to Pyro, which kind of changed its trajectory. So rather
it definitely made it more important because it was now kind of at a crossroads for a lot of important systems. And again, like, to just from going Terra to Stanton, going through Pyro obviously puts it in a unique position because that makes the journey much shorter, but it puts you through a potentially dangerous lawless system.
Claro, están comentando de que Pyro con el paso del tiempo también se convirtió en un cruce de caminos, como estamos viendo ahí, y que, por ejemplo, si quieres ir a Terra, entendiendo desde Stanton, pues sería una travesía más rápida, pero al mismo tiempo también sería más peligrosa.
1,000 new citizens since the last time we did a Lore Makers. so yeah, that is available now at robertspaceindustriescom/starmap. You can check it out. It runs much smoother than we're showing you on Zoom. What you're seeing is Zoom compression for the frame rate.
Yeah, highly recommend it. It's a great system to basically kind of wander around some of the systems and get a sense of like what the flavor and lore of each of the planets are, and it's just beautiful to navigate. So if you haven't done it,
Está comentando de que aquellos jugadores que no conozcan esto, pues el Ark Star Map está disponible a través de un enlace que luego os pondré, si no, que lo ponga alguien por ahí por el chat si alguien no lo conoce. Por si alguien no lo conoce.
But this combination of all this mining infrastructure.
Y que dice que es pues un espacio muy bueno para ver un poquito el lore. La verdad es que sí, porque hacéis clic derecho a los planetas y podéis ver descripción y demás.
Infrastructure kind of combined with its proximity to these wealthier systems kind of made for the perfect incubation chamber for criminal activity in the system. And so you started seeing squatters and outlaws moving into these abandoned infrastructure and taking it over and using it for various nefarious purposes. And it was later on, after the fall of the Messers, when the system was mostly depleted of resources, that the government officially kind of said, you know what, the system's too far gone. We don't have any use for it anymore. We're abandoning it. And it was officially let loose in the wind. Though there's been kind of recent renewed interest with Stanton Pyro jump point being discovered fairly recently after the discovery of Stanton. So that all of a sudden, with the Stanton becoming such an important system of commerce, it's a much shorter route to get to Terra from Stanton to cut through Pyro, where no one recommends it, but you have people who are willing to do the shortcut, which is introducing a lot more heightened criminal activity into.
Están comentando que la posición de Pyro es una posición muy interesante. Pues es un sistema que está cerca de sistemas que son, pues que están saludables, o sea, que tienen actividad y demás. Y que después bueno, cuando dejó de, digamos, dar beneficio, porque se supone que es un sistema que está como explotado y tal, pues los mesh y demás y todo esto, bueno, al final que la UE lo dio por perdido y a tomar por saco, ¿no? Entonces que además desde el descubrimiento de Stanton y debido a la fuerte actividad comercial favoreció todavía más que bueno, que siempre hay gente que está dispuesta a tomar el riesgo de hacer esa travesía más rápida a través de Pyro para llegar a Terra. Y entonces siempre hay gente que está dispuesta a tomar ese riesgo y eso favoreció todavía más que las organizaciones piratas de alguna manera pues utilizaran Pyro como un buen lugar para estar, ¿no?
That original station, so kind of an old, depleted, kind of terrible place that is still in operation, but now is being sort of fought over by various gang entities and tends to be sort of the seat of power. So right now, the current rulers of it are Xenothreat, who some of you tangled with in Stanton system not too long ago. So they are kind of the reigning power for the.
Están comentando de que si bien hay constante guerra de poder en Pyro, se podría decir que ahora mismo la Xenothreat son el grupo dominante de Pyro ahora mismo.
Ultra violent, kind of a mishmash of sort of outlaws and ex-military who are sort of zealots for anti-UEE, anti-corporate, anti-alien type ideology. So they basically, their target has been the Stanton system. They basically kind of went there with this sort of idea of like.
Están hablando de que la Xenothreat, digamos que tienen una mentalidad de anti-alien, anticorporativa, anti-UE y está pues llena de mercenarios y militares y demás, ¿no?
To free you and, you know, fight back against them, blah, et cetera, and obviously, you know, we fought back. So we managed to knock them out of the system, and they went back into Pyro to ruin station, presumably, and to presumably hatch further, nefarious plans.
Just go sit quietly and hate aliens.
Yeah. They're just kicking rocks and looking really sullen.
So the Xenothreat is a good example of one of the main known outlaw groups that we have in Pyro. And so as we're moving into the system with players, there's going to be a bunch of different groups that we've been developing that they'll interact with. And we're not going to talk too much more about those now because we want to save stuff for you guys to discover when you're actually.
Está diciendo de que cuando vayamos a Pyro nos vamos a encontrar diferentes facciones piratas con las que interactuar, pero no quieren chivarnos nada de momento hasta que salga para no estropear la sorpresa de cuando salga Pyro.
Figure out one of the additional gangs that'll be trying to cut out a living in the harsh system of Pyro.
But also to interject, there is another gang that is in operation in Pyro that you all are familiar with as well. And Adam, you can you've definitely developed this group the most. So
yeah, if you're a subscriber, then you will recognize some of the armors that have been released called that kind of mimic the look of one of the gangs currently running around Pyro by the name of the Overlords. And they're no one's quite sure what their ultimate goal in Pyro is. They have a vigilante kind of aesthetic to them, where they're hunting other criminal gangs in the system, trying to take them out or mess with them. There's various rumors as to whether they're trying to essentially become the predominant gang in Pyro by just taking out the other ones, or whether there's even some theories that they might be, special ops from the UEE team that's come in covertly as a way to help clear up the system. So it's a little up in the air right now.
Otra de las bandas predominantes de Pyro están comentando que serían los Overlord, que pues las armaduras que tenemos los suscriptores, aquellos que tenemos los suscriptores, hemos podido ver las armaduras que llevan y las podemos usar ahora en el juego. Y nos comentan de que se dedican como a cazar a otros piratas también. Son como una especie de vigilantes, por así decirlo, y que se sospecha que pueden ser fuerzas especiales de la UE encubierto, y que también quieren ser, que pueden también ser una de las, que quieren convertirse en la banda dominante, ¿no? Pues ahora mismo la Sinotred, y quieren convertirse en la banda que domine Pyro.
That you'll be able to wear. So yeah, while there is some kind of like lore behind the gang, it was also mentioned briefly in a Jump Point story called Dying Star about basically a young outlaw trying to make his way at Rune Station in the Pyro system, and he has a run-in with the Overlords gang. So there's a framework for the gang that's there, but we figured today would be a good day to discuss a few more of the details and maybe dig into helping us flesh them out a little bit more.
Claro, están comentando de que la historia de los Overlord viene la podemos ver en los comienzos, en la Jump Point, en una historia que se llama Dying Star, que nos cuenta cómo una persona pues intenta ir a Ruin Station, y a partir de ahí pues empieza a surgir esta banda, y que han pensado que sería un buen momento para tratar de hablar sobre el tema.
Kind of what we were talking about earlier about the sort of open development thing. One of the things that for newer viewers.
También están comentando que la banda en realidad pues hay bastantes posibilidades, no hay nada cerrado ahora en cuanto a la historia, que es una historia que está en desarrollo. Ya sabéis que el lore se va haciendo a medida que el juego va creciendo y progresando.
Because then it's like you miss that opportunity to kind of develop the story in real time. So
it also
there will be times where we kind of hedge our bets and don't tell you stuff.
It also applies to our video content. Sometimes when you're like, why aren't they talking about this, or why aren't they showing this, and whatever, it's like we show a lot, we talk about a lot, but we do try to leave some things for discovery when when a patch goes out. It's like we don't ever want to take away that you logging into the game and discovering something brand new, like a vehicle or an event like Xenothreat. So
right. But yeah, so I guess I don't know if we want to kick off with the Overlords. I get one of the things that sort of initial questions we want to try to put out to you guys just to kind of get the ball rolling. If we wanted to talk about sort of leadership structure for them, if there was a particular.
Sí, que nos hablen un poquito del liderazgo, si hay un miembro particular de la banda que tenga algún tipo de importancia.
Sure, you want to put a poll up?
Sure.
All right.
So, yeah, I mean, again, I don't know if there's anything else to discuss. We want to discuss around this. Adam, Will, you guys.
So, folks who are watching live on Twitch, you can.
Se puede poner cuál es el.
And 6 to choose which one of the Overlords that you're
Switch Black. Yo creo que es Switch Black. Que ponemos un número y ya.
Leader of the Overlord gang.
Texting prices may apply.
Doesn't mean it'll stay
Si
that
queréis
way,
votarlo, os lo
but at
dejo
least
ahí.
for some period of time, this will be the leader in charge.
Yeah, I think the overlords kind of have a very unique place amongst the gangs in Pyro in the way that they're more predatory towards the other gangs. Like other gangs will scrap and have beef for territory and stuff.
Es una votación para ver quién queremos que es el líder de la banda, ¿no? Según las fotografías.
And who they're shooting up, and it's not clear why they're
Yeah,
hunting these people down.
to me, it's always kind of been one of those things that they feel surgical, that they do when they attack somebody. They have their own reason for it, and it might not be as obvious to other people. Because again, like, you know, if it's just two gangs, normal gangs kind of fighting for territory or something like that, then it's fairly obvious that that's what they're doing. But to give this group a little bit of mystery to them, like, you know, they may hit another gang that's transporting some stuff but leave the goods, and whereas any other gang would have taken the valuables.
I always like
type
the.
Está comentando que el comportamiento de esta banda es un poco errático con respecto a otras, que otros controlan territorio y demás, pero que estos pueden hacerlo por otros motivos o tienen sus propios motivos, porque por ejemplo pueden llegar a asaltar un carguero de otra organización pirata y sin embargo no llevarse nada. Sus motivos son otros, ¿no?
I really like the vigilante aspect, and folks were like, "Oh, these guys are just another group of outlaws, of criminals," and I'm like, "Well, maybe not, people. Vigilante, Batman's a vigilante. When you get down to it, Spider-Man's a vigilante."
Claro, está comparando de que comparar estos con otro tipo de criminales, que Batman es un vigilante, ¿no? O Spider-Man sería otro ejemplo de...
When these armors first came out, it's like, a vigilante does not mean you're automatically on you know the side of evil or good. It just means you're outside the law. That's all that really means.
Yeah.
It might be interesting, like going off of some of the recent reputation work we're doing, is that like with this kind of no allegiance thing that we have, it if you do jobs for the overlords, that you can earn rep with them, but we give them kind of a quick burn off. So to kind of lean into that no allegiance thing of like, they're just as likely you could be doing jobs for them for a while, but if you don't maintain a relationship with them, then they're more likely to turn on you and being like, you're just another criminal. like you're never able to fully get in with them as like this.
Claro, dice que si tú, por ejemplo, no tienes ningún tipo de reputación con ellos, simplemente te tratarán como otro criminal, en este caso los Overlords, ¿no?
Like they're a real, like you said, a very tight-knit group that they don't... They're utilizing other criminals or in the system, but they're not treating them as allies, if that makes sense.
Claro, dice que además utilizan otros criminales en el sistema, pero no los tratan como aliados también, ¿no? O sea, como mercenarios y demás.
Stinger. The yellow is the runaway favorite. It's almost 10% above the nearest competitor. Yeah, I would not have guessed Stinger. I would have guessed Supernova. Supernova was mine.
No, I was thinking Predator was going to be the one.
O sea, que lo han seleccionado así en plan de...
I like that. That's yeah.
Bueno.
Dig it.
Bold statement from a leader to wear yellow too. It's like, come at me. I'm right here.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. So where do we go from here?
Oh, sorry. I'll update this.
Oh yeah, it's the part of the show where we actually update the document.
No, they live inside Stinger.
Oh, okay.
O sea, están haciendo la historia de esta banda en vivo con nosotros, ¿no? Nos están detallando pues cómo quieren que sean ese tipo de banda que no precisamente pues es el típico criminal, que tiene pues un poco de rollo de vigilante y demás.
Is kind of work with y'all to figure out, you know, does the gang have a base of operations, a sort of a sphere that's their sort of sphere of influence, like they hang out in Pyro 2 and they attack around Pyro 2, or they have a system-wide thing? I mean, Overlords definitely, to me, feel like they are system-wide, that we don't necessarily know where they're based out of, because that's...
Les he puesto, están diciendo, tienen una base de operaciones, yo los he puesto, pregunta, Kraken como base, por favor, una Kraken como base. Por favor. Kraken, por favor, Kraken. Kraken como base.
Of hiding out, because otherwise they'll just come after you and stomp you.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it would be a little complicated, so we'd have to talk to design with it. But maybe the kind of thing where if you do meet with them in person, it's they use random locations.
A different location, yeah.
Yeah, unlike like Twitch or something like that has that more.
Claro,
kind of
dice
permanent
si
setup.
tienen diferentes localizaciones o si tienen una fija, ¿qué podrían hacer? ¿No? Kraken, por favor.
Or meet in space in the middle of nowhere kind of thing, which would be kind of fun.
Yeah, I wonder if we would be able to do that thing with. It's almost a conversations through Mobiglass first, or like enlisting missions through Mobiglass, and then that leads to.
Right, because they wouldn't start off with a face-to-face meet. That'd expose them too much. So
Yeah.
Claro, están hablando de la posibilidad de no, de la hora de hacer misiones contigo, que sea primero a través del Mobiglass, en vez de hacer o sea, en vez de hablar contigo cara a cara, ¿no? Que primero tengas que hacer algo a través de Mobiglass y después, cuando haya suficiente confianza, pues o que no, y que además nunca se reúnan contigo en el mismo lugar, ¿no? Está poniendo ahí.
Design, but on the surface, the nice thing about that is, you know, when we ultimately have all of these gangs up in Pyro, we want them all to feel distinctive and unique. So having a kind of hook into, you know, well, the overlords have this sort of interesting way that they communicate with you via Mobiglass that leads to face-to-face meets, rather than other gangs that might just only do face-to-face meets because, you know, they
Hombre,
shoot you.
si vais ahora al chat o sea, al chat de ellos y escribís Kraken base,
where we have all of these gangs side by side is usually you know, one of the things that we do is try to
si escribís Kraken base sería la hostia. Todos Kraken base aquí y pepino.
To make this system feel in line with the tone that we're kind of going for in it. So
yeah, and if part of the MO for the gang is that they will hunt other gangs or other outlaws, them being able to strike anywhere is helpful for the reputation. The fact that if you're an outlaw around Pyro 2, you're just as vulnerable as somebody leaving Rune Station feels appropriate. So
yeah, but yeah, for them we could have them. I mean, you know, as far as things that they could hire people for, it feels like it's all their MO would be more about disruption of the local gang structures. Mm-hmm. So, you know, hitting weapon caches, intercepting drug shipments, you know, whatever, assassination missions.
Claro, están hablando de las posibles misiones que tengan, ¿no? Que sería, pues, ir a por armas, interceptar cargamentos de droga, misiones de asesinato.
If they're vigilantes, you know, it's to, you know, if another gang is making a raid, you know, or making an attack or something, it's mm-hmm. You know, is it saving the victim or is it disrupting their raid? Who knows?
Yeah, throwing a banana peel on the floor and seeing who trips.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and if innocent people are saved along the way, you know, hey, bonus.
Well, because in Adam's story, you can talk about it more of kind of that nice ending at the end.
Right.
It.
Yeah. No. As a part of the Dying Star short story, the young criminal does have a run-in with the overlords. Don't want to spoil too much, but it's just a brief little thing. But yeah, they're not just going to go in and clean house no matter what. There seems to be some consideration over who they go after and who they spare. That's for sure. So they're a little more thought out than just go in.
Claro, dice que a la hora de hacer un asalto, de cometer un acto de piratería, por así decirlo, no lo hacen con cualquiera, sino miran a ver a quién se lo hacen o tienen en consideración, digamos, a quién le perdonan la vida o a quién no.
Their motive, their MO is keep people guessing. You know, so every once in a while, like maybe they do just go and do something that seems weirdly altruistic, and stuff. And it's just like
persona.
Exactly, because it benefits them to always keep people guessing.
Yeah, they become impossible to anticipate because you don't know what they're going to do.
You don't know what they're going to care about from one day to the next.
We could see about doing a thing within the mission types, like a lot of these are.
Claro, incluso puede aparecer una situación que incluso hasta parezca altruista por las acciones que toman, que nunca sabes por dónde van a salir, o sea, eso es lo que pretenden, o las ideas que están debatiendo. Y Descolando se está motivando bastante con este tema también.
Their main goal isn't get those drugs themselves. It's just to make sure that the other gang doesn't have it.
Yeah.
So you get to walk away with like this crate full of drugs to do whatever you want with, like
Right,
at the end of it. So
or blow them up or whatever.
yeah, you get to keep what you steal from these other gangs, which would kind of make it a little unique.
Yeah, that's fun. Because you could also do that Joker, Heath Ledger Joker thing of like setting the money on fire type thing. Like they're not trying to.
Claro, y además que cuando te mandan una misión, que puede que también tú puedas quedarte con el botín de la banda que vas a saltar. Entonces te mandan en plan hacer un poco como el Joker, ¿no? Que le importa un bledo el dinero y le prende fuego, ¿no?
Maybe this is too specific of a conversation to do here, but if we want to do even kind of how to hook into them as an organization, whether it's, I mean, again, like this is a very cautious group. It feels like them just posting a general like, hey, you know, looking for somebody to go blow up a drug cache on, you know, on the contract manager feels a little.
Claro, dice que la banda que es un poco más, que es un poco cautelosa, ¿no? Que no se imagina el tipo o sea, lo que están haciendo aquí de que de repente ponga el móvil a 6 y quieres ir a reventar un carguero de drogas, así en plan por el general o por tal. Que no tiene que haber otra manera, ¿no?
What it is we cage it behind sort of like almost an anonymous front, and then you escalate, you know, as you build the rep that it's, you know, it turns, so we can kind of mix.
Claro, podría hacer de alguna manera que sean de gente anónima y que sea una mezcla de varias misiones que hagas y a partir de ahí construya cierta reputación para poder ir escalando y finalmente entrar en contacto con los overlords.
And then the overlords, you know, will do a face-to-face.
Ahí ponen por eso que no sabes que estás trabajando para los overlords hasta que alcances una cierta reputación, ¿no?
I really like that idea that you could be working for the overlords and not know it.
Yeah, that could be really fun. Again, I don't know if we can do that, but
yeah, I mean that's the big caveat on here. This is you're seeing our initial design phase where we throw a bunch of high level ideas and see what works for us, and then we have to go.
Están diciendo de que no saben si esto será posible, ¿no? Que realmente están en la parte en la que están juntando una pila de ideas y luego hablar con diseño para ver si esto es factible lo que están planteando.
That system, but if we want to have them in game now, maybe we simplify it at first and then revisit them with doing this more complicated mission structure. So,
if only it were as easy as dreaming it.
I do like the idea of seeing how the other gangs in Pyro react to you if it's known that you're working for the overlords. Like if overlords are pissing off everyone across the system and eventually you work up to your.
Dice que le gusta la idea de ver de elaborar cómo se comportarían el resto de bandas de Pyro, sabiendo que Pyro pues es bastante, o sea, tiene a todo el mundo hasta las pelotas, ¿no? Porque están metiéndose con todas las bandas criminales que hay por allí y de ver qué efecto tendría eso en el jugador.
Yeah. Again, one of those things is, you know, I guess the question of like how meta it gets is, or omniscient the reputation is, but that sort of thing. Like, yeah, if you're gaining rep with overlords, you're losing rep with everybody else.
Claro, si ganas reputación con los overlords, pierdes reputación con todos los demás, ¿no?
You know, because they're a vigilante gang and because they're disrupting the other gangs, you know, maybe, you know, there's UEE aspects where they can't quite come out and fully endorse it. They can't quite come out and say, yeah, you know, we appreciate you working for the overlords or whatever. But, you know, maybe it's like, I'm not getting arrested when I otherwise maybe should be getting arrested. It's like,
está comentando la posibilidad de Discolando de que dice tú eres un tipo que está a favor de los overlords y haces misiones para ellos y puede que te encuentres quizás la posibilidad de encontrarte con UE y que de repente no te arresten por cometer un delito determinado, que quizás sea una posibilidad, ¿no? De mirar de que la UE mire para otro lado.
all
Right.
Like, don't get caught. Don't force me to do something.
His daughter starts working for the overlords. This feels pretty good. Should we? I don't know if there's anything else in particular we want to hone in for this pass here, or whether we want to move to touching on one of the new ones.
We got about 20 minutes left, so.
Yeah, I think it's a good chunk.
Yeah, and Jared, if you see any interesting Overlord questions pop up in chat, let us know. You can circle back, but yeah, I think
I can see Stinger as the leader. It'll be good to work up his backstory and how he brought this group of people together,
Yeah.
which will be revealed to you later if you burn it. So well.
I would not have thought Stinger. I would have thought Stinger would be the person to just run in and get shot first. But whatever.
They were going to
Dice Escolando que no ve a Stinger como líder, que tiene pinta de ser el típico que corre primero y recibe un disparo.
That were next up for us to develop in our list, and we thought we would bring them forth and see which name you're most attached to as a community. The Fire Rats or the Dark Side Rovers were the two options that we were going to talk about today.
Yeah, which one feels more exciting off the bat?
So folks watching on Twitch right now,
¿Qué
vote by entering
quiere,
one
o sea,
or two
¿cuál
in the
queremos
chat.
que sea la siguiente que se haga,
We
no?
don't have a whole lot of time left
Darkside
today, so
Rovers,
this may
en
be
mi
it. Are we
caso.
gonna flesh out the Fire
O sea,
Rats?
¿de cuál
Or are we gonna
quieren,
thread
o
it?
sea, cuál queremos que desarrollen la siguiente, no? ¿La banda de los Fire Rats, de las ratas de fuego o los rovers del lado oscuro?
Vehicles that can not function in the dark.
They function off moonlight.
If it helps anyone decide, Darkside Rovers are modern jazz, whereas Fire Rats are contemporary tap. So
Hola,
It's always
dice
the
los
first
Darkside
answer.
Rovers que son Modern Jazz, o sea, en plan la mítica banda que podemos encontrar de antigua, ¿no? De la mafia y tal, supongo.
we just have to wait for this poll to be over. It's not great, yeah.
We have the Jeopardy theme.
I always do the Monty Python intermission music. The tap intro seems to be making people change their votes.
Oh wow, not a lot of
Oh, man.
tap fans.
Pro or for?
No.
Against.
To the tap intro.
Oh,
To
okay.
the tap.
Wow. Okay.
Man, if
Yeah, they're called the Fire Rats because their feet move so fast like a rat on fire.
Yeah, totally where the name came from.
That popular phrase.
At this point, it doesn't look like it's going to sway much. We've got a 10% lead again for the Fire Rats.
All right, sweet.
Cool.
All right, we'll visit the Dark Side Rovers another day.
Así que bueno, pues van a empezar con las ratas de fuego. Vamos a ver qué dicen.
We don't have the real almost nothing for them right now. We know that they see themselves as possibly being the new big uppity ups on Ruin Station and that they have,
Contenders.
yeah, and that's kind of going forth for them, and that they're like red and orange.
Yeah, so I guess
Bueno, nos está contando que las Fire Rats es una banda rival que persigue el control de Stanton y sería pues de Pyro, perdón, y sería la otra banda que puede, o sea, sería una banda que es capaz de hacer pie a la Xenodred de alguna manera y que llevan intentando conquistar Ruin Station durante un tiempo.
what's kind of interesting. I mean, obviously the name is sort of says a lot about them. You know, we threw in for the colors and symbology that they use kind of reds and oranges, obviously, which could kind of manifest in the clothing. It could manifest in kind of, you know, recommendations for ship liveries, that type of thing, so they become identifiable. But yeah, I mean, I guess you know, one of the big ways we could kind of hook into them would be, what is sort of their main function? You know, are they a group of shipjackers? Do they traffic sentience? You know, they stick up boys, enforcers, brawlers. What is their kind of main source of notoriety?
Claro, definir un poquito qué es lo que harían, ¿no? Esclavismo, shipjacking, contrabando, robo. Yo voy a poner esclavitud. Yo quiero esclavitud. Y asesinato y demás. Yo creo que esclavitud, porque es lo... El secuestro de naves, no sé, pero la esclavitud me llama mucho la atención. Porque no hay nada en un juego así parecido, ¿no?
You always want to start with kind of the broad, big shapes, and then you work into detail. Like you can,
Secuestro de
it's very
naves
easy to
parece
fall
que es lo
down
que
a rabbit
está...
hole if you know, work on a very, very minuscule,
Right.
like portion of a thing. without thinking about sort of how does it all piece together. So
these may not be the only thing they're involved in, but we're looking for like a signature element.
Yeah.
No, they could dip their toes in many different crime pies. That was okay. But yeah, this will be what they're known for.
I'm just imagining a crime pie is just filled with brass knuckles. I don't know why.
A crime.
You want a bite of my crime pie?
A crime pie is an apple pie that somebody's added raisins to.
Oh.
That's a crime pie.
Have you ever done apple pie with a slice of cheddar cheese on it?
Well, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I gotta say.
All right. Well, that was it for Dave Haddock. We'll continue on without him.
Wow.
I mean, the other thing that I also tie into is like, we come up with name. Like sometimes it comes the other way. We don't name the name first, and we come up with what the group does and try to have a name that suits them. Or like for these, we came up with a bunch of names that sounded interesting and try to use that as inspiration.
Claro, dice que pues a veces lo que hacen es desarrollar la historia y luego buscar un nombre para lo que puede ser ese grupo, pero a lo largo del tiempo pues han desarrollado varios nombres que suenan bien y que al final pues utilizan esos nombres también para desarrollar la historia de diferentes grupos o facciones.
That they're pyro denizens, that they identify the system with the system a lot because again, obviously pyro fire,
Bueno, dice que las ratas de fuego que se identifican bastante con el tema de Pyro y fuego y demás, ¿no? Que va identificado el nombre con el sistema.
Well, we have a pretty clear favorite on these ones as well. Shipjacking has stolen it by a pretty clear margin.
Stolen it?
Shipjacking. Pirate Wong returns.
All right.
That's a really old reference. Most people probably aren't going to get.
Okay, so shipjacking. That is a fun. Well, we could, if we want to. I mean, one of the things that we talked about for. So, if we want to go shipjacking, as far as the location, I mean, obviously we have them trying to usurp control of Ruin Station, so we might just put them mostly there. But we could, one of the things we're trying to do with Pyro 3, I think 3, is kind of have a point of interest on the planet be ship junkyards. So that might be an interesting place for them to kind of have been born from.
Claro, está comentando que un punto interesante para ellos tener la base podría ser un punto entre Pyro 2 o Pyro 3, un punto de Pyro 2 o Pyro 3 y que fuese un desguace.
To stick with the rat analogy.
It'd be real interesting if every once in a while, when you grab a ship, sometimes you don't clear it all off, or people hide from you, and so you end up bringing it back to your shop, and there's these random folks still hidden aboard your ship, and you get these kids, and you put them to work and whatever, and so there's just this community of stowaway children who
Jeez, that's dark.
It's like the Island of Misfit Toys, but for children.
Yeah. Oh, it's just isn't that they're having families the traditional way, but I was trying to think about born and bred here, how are they finding them?
Están hablando de alguna manera de que críen a sus hijos ahí en esa base y los niños se dediquen a despedazar las naves y tal. Y están diciendo de que, joder, eso sí que es oscuro, ¿no? Le dicen.
Yes, but the kids you could put to work.
Well, at that point, now I'm picturing an Oliver Twist kind of thing with a Fagin, that's
right.
That's running everything.
It just is an option for kind of their backstory. If we're not feeling that, we can move on.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it has a weird Peter Pan thing. To me, like the.
Dice que es una especie de movida de Peter Pan extraña.
But yeah, I mean, I think having that sort of thing where it was sort of a group of survivors. The origin of the gang could be a group of survivors who were.
Oh gosh! Now you do a whole Lord of the Flies thing, where they all came from one place, it was a crashed
school
Starliner or something, full of kids at one point.
Dice Discolando que se le acaba de iluminar los ojos. Oh, imaginaros que era una Starliner que se accidentó y de repente pues eran niños ahí, empezaron a crecer a través de ahí esa comunidad y desde ahí se formó ese grupo pirata, ¿no? Los Fire Rats.
I don't know why they would lose their identity. I mean, unless it's that sort of thing of like they become sort of, feral kids. But
Once
just
they were
because,
adult, why they didn't go back to wherever they were
yeah,
from and
exactly. Like
visit
it
their
doesn't,
mom and dad.
yeah, it doesn't mean that they lose who they are. So, but I mean, again, if it's one of those things that if it's, the parents are killed, whoever didn't like killed the parents didn't want to kill kids, and so just sort of dumped them. And it was the initial core group of fire rats were this group of kids who sort of found each other.
Claro, está hablando de que quizás los padres de estos niños fueran asaltados por un grupo pirata que no quería matar a niños y los niños fueron dejados ahí y que este grupo de niños inicial pues fue el nacimiento del grupo pirata de los Fire Rats.
Maybe it would help if we knew what kind of vibe this group was going for.
Right. So sort of like whether they are, we want to go kind of Mad Maxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like that could be a poll question.
It's already running.
¿Qué tipo de vibra debería tener la banda? Profesional, salvaje y loca, intimidatoria, misteriosa y no sé qué. Y Zilots no tengo ni idea de lo que es. Pero yo... Wild and Crazy. Salvaje y loca. Dios, 70%.
Mysterious, ominous. Or,
Yeah,
or zealots. Zealots.
Yeah, you
I
can
like that
completely
idea.
change your direction right now, which is totally fine. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And,
what
I mean,
that's what I was thinking.
sometimes again that kind of competing stuff can be really interesting because it creates a lot of, how do we piece these two things together to have them make sense can lead to some really interesting.
And you guys don't have to vote for the first option. There's other numbers. There's twos, and there's threes, and there's fours, and even fives.
No tenéis por qué votar todo la primera opción, hay varias opciones, ¿no? Pues sí, o sea, hay un vastísimo.
Let's lose the kid angle because we're not probably gonna have kids.
The character team is going to be like, no, you can't do kids.
But like just the idea that every once in a while they bring back someone with them and they just kind of dump them at this junkyard, and like if they do work for them, then they'll get food.
Yeah.
And so you just have these kind of people who've spent years here scrabbling together, and then
that could have been their original origin. 20 years ago.
Yeah, the first two, the founding members of it were.
Yeah, the first batch kind of survived that way, and then.
Then they built up an infrastructure.
Yeah.
I mean, that could really influence their stance. Like maybe they really hate the slavers operating in the system.
They'd be the first batch. They'd be the first batch. Then
Claro, están hablando de que la primera manada digamos, o la primera, el primer grupito de estos de Fire Rats, pues que eran niños y tal, que trabajaban igual para otras, para otras personas allí en el desguace y que poco a poco se formando el grupo de Fire Rats y que puede que por eso consigan, que trabajan por comida, ¿no? Y que por eso también tengan odio hacia el esclavismo y demás.
Even remotely close. It's wild and crazy.
Wild and crazy.
Wild and crazy.
Okay.
Así que nada.
Wild and crazy.
Lo que estaban debatiendo que nada, que al final salvaje y locura, ¿no?
Yeah.
We are the wild and crazy shipjackers.
I think just to kind of differentiate them because we do have a sort of wild and crazy group behind the scenes.
Dice, me gustaría diferenciarlos porque tenemos un grupo salvaje y loco detrás de las escenas, o sea que algo que no nos han contado y ahora lo acaban de contar.
Again, the Mad Max type thing. If it's almost like, I mean, what you're sort of
del rollito de Mad Max y demás, ¿no?
Absolutely hating slavers and that type of thing, where they're kind of hair trigger tempers. That it's not about like splashing yourself with crazy colors and screaming and going kind of all, Lord of the Flies on stuff. It's like
having no patience whatsoever.
Yeah, just being like really like scary, like really scary, violent kind of short fuse type people. I mean, again, it's tricky. It's not obviously the Mad Max stuff is super fun and bombastic, but
one of the folks in chat says they're capricious, not insane.
Spelling.
Google Docs, do your best.
Ahora están diciendo de que quieren hacer... hostia, que son caprichosos, que no están locos, ¿no? Que no tienen paciencia, que son de mecha corta.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting challenge because Mad Max has really like defined that kind of like vehicle like crazy. So like as a challenge as a narrative team to find our own take on that and how do we place them in this world.
Well, what we could, I mean, and I guess because we got 7 minutes left, so what we could do is, like, our last poll, basically, maybe we want to brainstorm basically 3 kind of single sentence descriptions of this group, and then see which one of them you all vibe with the most, and then we take that and we run off and we build it out. But maybe that sort of wild and crazy, no patience, short fuse, capricious, not insane. That can be, number 1. So that's one take on it, where they're again, like that sort of hair trigger temper type thing. They will annihilate people if they cross them, or if you violate their code, they will mess you up.
So that's one. Capricious, not insane. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I keep coming back to like the fire rats and the name of it of like, and again, this butts into what our design capabilities are to get this into gameplay, but the idea of fire as a weapon that they use, like burning the inside of the ship out as a way to get rid of the
Hostia, tío, qué bestia es el fulano. Dice que claro, que una de las ideas, debido para que vaya con el nombre y tal, sería que uno de los métodos que utilicen sería el fuego y que incendien y que hagan arder la nave por dentro para deshacerse de los ocupantes, para después robarla. Hostia, tío.
Purposefully. I know they're supposed to trigger when you overload stuff, and from what I've seen, there's some really cool things that might be able to be happening with fire, but as far as like remotely being able to trigger fires aboard ships, I don't know if that's something that's capable.
Hacking and disabling the fire suppression systems.
Yeah, something like
I mean,
that.
it's interesting.
Deshabilitar, claro, hackear y deshabilitar los supresiones de los sistemas supresores de fuego de a bordo y demás. Esa hay una opción, dice Discolando, por si es posible por el diseño, ¿no?
Like, well, we didn't kill them, the fire did, type thing. Like they use fire as, again, it's like you said, kind of a cleansing wash thing, and they can just set a fire and then like put their.
Yo es que me estoy imaginando la escena de lo que vemos en muchas pelis del desembarco de Normandía cuando iban a limpiar los búnkeres con lanzallamas y tal, y vaya animalada.
But they'll burn out the inside of a ship in order to, claim the ship. I mean, I don't know how it manifests outside of just that one behavioral tick. And just to throw it out, I had a weird idea for the third one that was actually a combination of sort of the wild and crazy and the zealot thing, but also feeding off of the fire rats thing, was if they were that sort of, there's that sort of almost a weird kind of quasi cultish fervor about the purification of flame type thing, that they are, there's this sort of thing about Pyro sort of as a system manifests their worldview.
Madre mía, qué locura. Bueno, pues estáis viendo ahí que está debatiendo, y a medida que está debatiendo, pues está escribiendo esto, ¿no? Dice que son violentos pero no asesinos, utilizan el fuego para limpiar las naves, permitiéndole a la gente escapar al espacio. creen en la purificación de la llama y Pyro influyó su forma de ver el mundo, ¿no?
We could do a thing like where been talking, we're still exploring about how the stars flares affect ships and have that kind of thing. So they could be like a group that specializes in picking up ships that aren't prepared to meet the sun's like gaze. Like the flare goes off and then they swoop in to do their ship jacking afterwards while the ships are still reeling from
Yeah,
the
they
solar
take advantage of the
flare.
fact that the ship is disabled
Yeah.
or hurt.
Yeah, if they had extra strong shields to protect their ships from it, but they know they can pry in other ships. That's
Or they're all kind of burned up. They look like
Yeah,
Mark
I mean,
Strong.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, in Sunshine, yeah.
Yeah.
The what did you see type stuff. But yeah, that's almost that kind of weird cultish, like, yeah, they have this sort of weird fanatical following of fire and flame, and it is a sort of tempestuous master. Could be kind of interesting because it definitely makes him kind of wild and crazy, but kind of weirdly
Dios
focused
mío.
in their sort of
Bueno, ahí
mania,
estás viendo lo que
and
están
exactly
hablando un
how they.
poquito, ¿no? Está comentando de que dice que, bueno, que atacar naves que hayan sido... o sea, naves de ataque que hayan sido golpeadas por rayos solares, o sea, por llamas solares, llamaradas solares, y miembros que hayan sido expuestos a esas llamaradas ellos mismos y que tengan quemaduras, ¿no? Quemaduras del sol en la piel y demás.
And so like
And survive.
yeah, and there's like fire rats or thing. Oh, we should do a poll.
Already running.
Oh, geez. I wish we could firm these up more. We're running out of time. If I had a little bit
Yeah.
longer. The idea 3 is very, very clean. The Cult of the Sun. Idea 2 and 1 are.
A mí
kind
lo de
of
la
leaning into each
purificación de
other.
la llama me llama más que lo de violento o caprichoso.
Yeah,
No sé,
yeah.
And
no.
the fire to clear ships, I'm not even sure we can do.
Está
So
interesante.
it's
Le
like,
da un rollo.
don't for
Le da un rollo loco, ¿no? El tema de la purificación de la llama y tal.
Basically, 1 is capricious but not insane. Number 2 is violent but not murderous, which I think is a different enough that you can build from that. And then 3 is the purification of flame.
I mean, just to change it mid-poll, like maybe the 1 is like, because like the Mad Max people have all been like indoctrinated and you put on these like masks to be really intimidating, and maybe the wild and crazy part is growing up, like if they
Están sacando la chorra con la idea de sacarlo. Está guapísimo, la verdad.
their cultures of these stranded people here growing up in these scrapyards trying to survive has actually made them slightly unhinged. So they're like wearing normal clothes, but like they're kind of not all together. Is more the vibe of like the risks they're willing to take, the pressures they're willing to do, and kind of that thing of the short fuse, the willing to like turn on a second, is just because of how they've had to fight to survive on this harsh world.
Claro, dice que la forma esa de ser de mecha corta, de actuar rápido, saltar a la mínima, o de la vestimenta que llevan y demás, que tiene que ver con probablemente cómo se haya desarrollado su infancia en ese tipo de vivencia, de haber nacido o sea, de haberse criado en un desguace y demás, de reacción a muere, ¿no?
Pretty fun little thing, and like kind of a rival cult with the Xenothreats. Like,
yeah, different ideology, but similarly zealot based.
That's great. That was
awesome.
Very helpful. Thanks for helping us come up with this cool outlaw group.
And we'll just start doing this daily. And
same time tomorrow. Let's all meet here.
Don't do that to me. I can't.
Send over our Jiras, and we can just knock this all out.
We used to do 5 videos a week back in 2015, and it almost killed me. We're not doing that ever again. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy weeks, your busy schedules, to be here on the show with us this week.
Muy guapo.
Of course, as backers who follow the project know, Star Citizen Alpha 3.13 is currently working its way towards a live release. It's currently in the Evocati, but we anticipate a potential movement to the PTU eminently.
¡No! ¡Toma! Anticipamos un movimiento al PTU de la 3.13 en breves.
because that's just not the way any of this works. But it is
Ojo con la apuesta, ojo con la apuesta, que ahí está, chavales.
To get it out into the PTU as quickly as possible, and then of course it'll wind its way through PTU Wave 1, PTU Wave 2, all that stuff like that, until it makes its
Pero es
way
una
to
posible,
Wave
es
2.
posible.
So keep an eye out for that. For Dave, for Will, for
Buen live, chavales. Buen live.
I'm Jared. I wish that was a joke, but it wasn't. That was just a complete boop, boop out of the brain. For Adam, I'm Jared. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Well,
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Buena ahí, buena ahí.
Like usually I'm mean at the end as a joke, but that was just.
Oh, it fit into your
Just
normal.
mean on, yeah.
Well, I was gone. I lost it.
Well, I felt as a joke.
Bueno, pues ahí está el... Ahí está el este. Lo voy a cortar, chicos, y nos vemos ahora en el directillo, como siempre. Ahí vengo. Ahí vengo y comentamos la jugada.